you to focus on Liberia on our program FOL Marketplace, a business and economic forum here at Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C.A., hosting along with Mr. Willen King. And we want to welcome you in Facebook land to our broadcast. Again, this is Focus on Liberia on our program FOL Marketplace, that's Focus on Liberia Marketplace, is a business and economic forum here at Focus on Liberia. Here we discuss issues about business and economics, but today the emphasis will be on technology and the business component of it. So first we will get a little understanding of what technology is, and our panelists that we have here in studio have specific areas of emphasis in their field of technology, and we will be asking them specific questions with the level of work they have been doing. As you are joining us, as always, we can ask you enough to hit that share button so that your fellow Liberians and other nationals can have the opportunity to listen to what these gentlemen have to share when it comes to technology as well as the business component of it. Again, my name is Anthony C. Hosting, and we are more than happy to welcome you to our broadcast. I will now bring in Mr. Willem King. Willem, welcome to Focus on Liberia and welcome our guest.
Thank you, Anderson. It's a pleasure to be here. To all of our viewers, thank you for joining us. We will be going through and introducing our guests and asking them to take 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about themselves, who they are, where they work, and what technology and business means to them, and what it means for Liberia. Before we head into that, let me just take a second and read our disclaimer for Focus on Liberia. The content is for informational purpose only. You should not construe any such information or other materials as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on our media or written documents constitute a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Focus on Liberia or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments in this or in any other jurisdiction in which such media material may be shared. All content on this site is information of a general nature and does not adjust the circumstances of any particular individual or entity. Nothing in the media constitutes professional or financial advice, nor does any information on the platform constitute a comprehensive or complete statement of the matters discussed or the law relating thereto. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. And what I would like to do first is I would like to give a space to Dr. Peter Velule. Yes. Or would you kindly grace us with some good information about you, what technology means for you, and what you do, and some thoughts on technology in Liberia. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for having me. Firstly, because I want to say thanks for having me. My name is Dr. P. Vulole. Many people call me Dr. V, so I'm okay with you calling me Dr. V.
Thank you.
I currently hold like a PhD in information technology and work as a university professor here in the United States. And finally, I serve as the CEO of the Liberia e-library. Okay?
Yes.
With that being said, are you asking me to define technology?
No. Just basically technology, what it means to you. Just, personally for you, what it means for you.
Yes, okay. Technology to me means those tools that we use every day of our lives, to solve problems, to make our life easier. To me, that's what technology is.
All right. Let me come to you, Bernard. Bernard, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Who is Bernard and what area of technology you are learning?
Well, thanks for inviting me. My name is Lionel Bernard. I have a doctorate in management, and my career has been focused on managing technology for companies, technology resources, including staff, budget, personnel. I'm currently a director of IT with a nonprofit based in DC, responsible for all technology operations for that entity. Um, William, your question regarding what does technology mean to me? I'm going to tend to agree with Dr. Thomas. I'm sorry, Dr. Peter
Dr.
rather.
Pete. Yeah.
That technology is essentially a tool. A long time ago, when the cavemen needed a tool to hunt, they created their own tools and allowed them to to be more productive in hunting. Now, technology is a tool that allows us to be more productive in accomplishing business objectives. For example, if we need to communicate something, an idea, we can use technology. If we need to exchange money much more efficiently, we can use technology. If we need to have this meeting that we're currently having, even though we're spread across the world, we use technology. So technology is basically a tool that allows you to achieve certain things, and it has a dark side as well. But by and large, what it means to me is a tool for achievement.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As you hear, there's a dark side to technology, which we'll be getting to a little bit later. I would like to pass this now to Thomas. Please
Yes, sir.
tell us, a little bit about you, what you do, work in technology, and what it means for you.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure being here today. I think it's my first time on the show, especially on the world stage to introduce the projects or the products that we've been developing. My name is Thomas. I live in the Netherlands in a very small community called Hoevelaken, to be specific. And I work at this present moment. I own a business, a small business company for developing technologies, solving problems that are left out there from for the bigger companies. I also work as a freelancer to another company called Westport, producing smart technologies that is actually diving into artificial intelligences, deep learning, and machine learning, creating smart business applications that will solve the day-to-day problems that we face today. So to answer the question, what technology means to me, I would likely go alongside with the two brothers. Technology is the key the key tool to be able to solve problems that politics and also religious can go. So I use that definition actually because not all politics, not all religious leaders can solve problems, but sometimes when the key of method of science and technology are directly to the people to solve problems, I think we will have a better world in Liberia today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Clarence, I see you've been patiently waiting. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're working on a very interesting project. Share a little bit about that project and this technology, what it means to you, and how you are applying it in a sense.
Well, my name is Clarence Early. Thank you all. My name is Clarence Early, Liberian born and raised. I work as a lead support technician for a company called Cloud Medical Service, and then I moved out here to California. And now I am now the IT manager for Yehovah Medical Services. And during my time out here in California, a project came to mind, a vision came to mind, and I decided to implement it, which is a multi-vendor marketplace. When we're talking about the e-commerce war, what does that look like for where is e-commerce multi-vendor marketplace? Where is that leading right now? How can we bring that idea, that mentality, the technology? How can we bring that back to Africa and creating jobs opportunity and just using the opportunity to control the economy when we're talking about our current state of economy right now? How can we use e-commerce or marketplace to kind of solve that problem? And that's where it raised my curiosity, and I've just been pushing more and more into that aspect. That's how I came about African supermarket.
All right. Again, folks, in cyberspace, the stage is set. At least you got a little understanding of what technology is. You listen to our panelists. They both were able to throw light for us to get a unique understanding of what technology is. Dr. Leon's talk about technology as a tool, talking about during the days of old, the Asian men wanted to grab a tool so that they could be able to use the tool to make things easier for them. So technology today is a tool, as you can see. We are all in different places, but we are together here as a result of technology. So technology is a huge part of our life. Today we interact because of technology. No one can doubt now the power of technology during this time of COVID-19 when we are all quarantined. So you have a better understanding of technology, but that is not enough for you. Our guest here will break it all down for you. Let's start with you, Dr. Vlula. In your line of work, you created the e-library for Liberia, where Liberians can go and be able to access information about our country and even use information there for education. So, how did this all start, and how does it help to impact our life?
Yes, on this project, the idea all came about um, in support, of learning, teaching, and research in Liberia. So there was one time I was sitting and I was like, how can I, contribute, to Liberia learning, teaching, and research? Because when you look at it, most of the students in Liberia,
Mhm,
they go to school, but most of them don't have outside, materials to use.
mhm,
Most of them go to the library, the physical library in Liberia. Yeah, but those libraries are not equipped enough with all the materials, for the students to, to, to conduct, their assignments, work, or research like that. So, and then when you look at the teaching, most of the universities or the high schools, you see that in order, for me, I'm a professor, in order for, before I go to classroom to teach, I usually sit back and do my homework. And I don't only go with the textbooks that the university provide me. I also try to use other materials outside. So with the libraries, I think you will have teachers, universities using it also to add, content to their materials before going to the classroom. And then lastly, the research aspect. You have researchers in Liberia. I think very few, but and then all over the world you have researchers. I have two other students from Harvard who called and were like, where did you get this material from? I want to conduct research, my thesis. I want to base it on Liberia, but I don't have any material. But someone, referred your website to me, and when I checked that, I saw all these materials. So thank you very much. Right away, those guys like they they they, they donated, I can say $2,000 each to the project because of this work. So because of the work, they were able now to base their research on Liberia. So in short, the Liberia e-library idea came about to empower learning, teaching, and research in Liberia for Liberians all over the world.
All right, Dr. Vluda there, folks in cyberspace who are following us here, you just listening to Dr. Vluda. He has been able to build a library that contain a lot of information about our country. Those of you who have been saying that, oh, there's not much information out there for Liberia, think again. The Liberia e-library, you can search it and you will find a lot of information about Liberia to put you in a position to be able to do research and inform yourself about your country. All right, another panelist we have here is uh yeah, Clarence. Clarence, you also in this business of technology and you also have a business. So talking
Yes,
about
sir.
the business component of it, you have the African supermarket. Is it online? Is it something like Amazon?
Yes, so African Supermarket is a multi-vendor online platform where we were established to bring all Africans from different parts of the world into one platform to be able to get your business exposure and to manage your technology and also to manage the logistics aspect of your business as well. That's what African Supermarket is about. We our goal when we got into African Supermarket, it was when I moved out here to California, and the hustle of getting African food product and not knowing anybody at a point in time. And then it just started going deeper and deeper about people in on social platforms, social media platforms. They own their businesses and they posting their products and other things on social media and out of you, which is not bad. But them reaching out and paying hundreds of dollars to third-party companies to develop them an online platform that they don't even have one single idea of how to manage or even operate. So at the end of the day, it takes away the mindset, the business side of their operation. They're focusing more on the technical side, which is the wrong idea of even getting into business. They've spent all of their time into the technical side of their business before you realize in couple months, we realized that those businesses were not being fought on social media anymore because they couldn't keep up with the payment that they're making just to keep this platform up, instead of focusing all of their time and energy and finances on the business. So we African Supermarket, we said we're going to build this platform so that we can enable our people to be able to come on here, not just worried about, oh, I'm going to figure out the technical aspect of my business, but all they have to focus on is just figure out the strategy of their product and just post it and sell, and then get the exposure that they should be getting of their business to stand out in the business world, and to also figure out the logistics structure of their business as well. How can I move product from the US to Africa? How can I move product from Africa to other parts of Africa, and from other parts of Africa back to the Western world? So African Supermarket is now established to make that happen.
Thank you very much, Clarence. Thank you. We're gonna come back to that subject a little bit later. I want to talk to Thomas. Thomas, now I understand you were on the show maybe a week or a couple of weeks ago, and what I want to do is I want to dive into maybe some of the products that you have in mind, maybe for the government, usage and so forth. But something that is very important as you talk about that is share with us a little bit, if you have any knowledge of maybe the data situation in Liberia. Is that something that is conducive for introducing certain products, or is it going to get overwhelmed? Thomas?
Thank you, sir. To start up, first of all, I want to go back in time. All of the problems that we've been facing in Liberia. One of the key thing is that this product is to eliminate a lot of problems that we face today in Liberia. And one of these problems is that just take an example that you don't have all the citizens in Liberia which are having a registered address. So we actually go down into the system and code a system that each and every one that register into the e-government system on a platform that the government can send an email to every one of us. That is one sort of the essential part of the system. But there's another part again. We create opportunity for like renewing business services for the government. For example, renewing your ID card, your electronic ID card, for example, your driving license, and all of these other part of the system. We emphasize a lot of stuff on like data. So all of the product we've been building, the key foundation of the product is to depend on the data that coming out of Liberia. So this is workable actually in Liberia, because the current way that we do things today is not actually working. It's a lot of, it costs a lot of energy and a lot of financing. If you look at the current system that we're implementing in Liberia today, the national ID card systems, it costs a lot of money. And also we just giving data, we just giving ID card to people, and the data left undone. So I call it in technology is a static data. If the data is not manipulated with a good and services, I think it's static. We need to make it dynamic, where we can build a form of prototype on top of it, which is the framework application that we have. That application will extend goods and services to all of our agencies. One of the three key points that we emphasize on is the education sector, the medical sector, and the security sector. But I want to give a little example about the health sector. Imagine if you go to the hospital, you need to be identified. And if you're not in the system, you have to be identified somewhere. So then actually you give your ID card and then we punch in your name. And then that data will actually comes from the citizen, the citizen database. So we have a database, which is the primary database. And then all of these other services are connected to their local database. So in order to request for data from a citizen database, you need to have, or you need to obtain a national ID card, or at least a national identification number, which is maybe your social security number. And then the system will go further with the implementation. So that is actually my business. I've been developing this project since 2008, right after the university, and with a lot of research and development. Sorry, I haven't been to Liberia, but I listened to a lot of Facebook media to be able to take that. Yeah, I listened to a lot of Facebook to be able to take data from all over the places, and I analyze data and actually focus on the needs of the people. So in order to make the system more smarter, we actually go down to deep to decode the system into deep learning, and also in part of the neural network systems. That will also help us to be able to identify people very fastly, and that also services will be given to people very fastly. For example, if you have a data somewhere, you want to know how many people in a various location and what are the states of health. In the current way that we solve problems today, when something happens in Liberia, we quickly go on Facebook and do a GoFundMe. So we don't know actually which kind of people we're helping. But at this system, we can actually go down into a particular area and then give a whole data and a report and an analysis on that area and say, look, these are the people that are in need of these services, and we can actually provide these services to them.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, as you're hearing, the technology seems to be evolving with data, how critical data is in today's world. As the gentleman just mentioned, for some health reasons, you can have some data. Now, I want to say something, Thomas. You have a technology partner here, Dr. Lionel Bernard, who often goes to Liberia. And so, I'm happy for this network connection because you guys are part of the same technology family. Now, Lionel, from some of the things that you have heard, I know there was a book, Broadband Coming, where we looked at the ability for Liberia to potentially become wired, become connected to the whole internet system and everything like that. Based on some of the stuff that Mr. Thomas said and what you have experienced, are these pie in the sky ideas, or is this something that is just lacking some type of finance, or where do we go? Where does something like that take off from?
But first, I want to commend Clarence, Dr. Peter, and Thomas on their technology initiatives. All of these initiatives are very, very plausible. The e-library for Liberia, I was just on the website as you were talking, and it's a very, very good resource for research. I was in Liberia this past January. One of the things I noticed is that right next to the Ducor Hotel, there was a sign that says library construction pending. And that sign had been there.
Let me pause you right there. I think that is won by one of our guys, right? Anthony, the guy from Canada, but it's a Liberian guy. He's doing something, but go ahead.
Well, thanks for that note, Thomas. But anyhow, that sign has been there for the past 5 years. Nothing has been built. And the vision was to build a library, a physical library, where a lot of the students and schools that surround that area, for example, St. Patrick's School, not St. Patrick, Cathedral is right across the street. There's a couple of other high schools right next to it. But this library space has sat there for 5 or 10 years, maybe, and they haven't built a library there. So what I've ascertained is that there's no physical library in Liberia. So I think this idea of a virtual library is very, very needed. It's a good resource, and I think you're going to have a lot of people using it to do research, to study, to read books, and I hope that you can promote it and get more adoption of it across the board. Clarence, the supermarket idea, it's also very commendable. It leverages technology to distribute products and services to the Liberian or the African market. About once a week, or maybe even twice a week, my wife goes to the Liberian market, the African market down the street. But you have to physically drive to the place, and and stand in line, and and browse through the store and pick up your products and go to the checkout. Lately, there's a line at the store, and also you have to wear a mask. And they're in the back. They usually cut. That's where they cut the meat and fish back there. So usually there's a long line of women back there. But now everybody has to be spaced out, and so it's very inconvenient to go shopping at a brick and mortar store. So online shopping is becoming mainstream, not only in Western countries, but also in Africa as well. The gentleman in the Netherlands, his concept of using artificial intelligence for biometrics, I happen to know quite a lot about that subject matter. Full disclosure, I also have a business that I'm starting in Liberia. It's a mobile money business, and it's called Wlee, WLEE, which is a Basso word for money. For those of you who are Basso crew, Wlee Pay. So I'm pretty much very familiar with a lot of the challenges that you're facing as far as the e-library, as far as the supermarket, as far as getting all this data on citizens, a citizen national ID system. And what I can tell you is that to get back to Thomas's question, is that all of it is William's question, is that all of these ideas are feasible in terms of getting customers in Liberia to use it. But the biggest problem on the ground is that access to internet services. Right now, internet access in Liberia is very expensive. The average person here pays $35 a month for Verizon or Comcast or some other internet provider. In Liberia, that amount is $75 a month for a limited internet. 1 gigabit card in Liberia costs about $5, which may not be affordable to most people. You hear a lot of people complaining, I don't have data on my phone. It's because you have to go out and buy a scratch card for that. They're now selling it by by the megabit. So for like $2, you can buy about I think it's 5 megabits, and you use that data. So they're selling it piecemeal, and mainly because of affordability issues. So even if you have a technology that people find use for shopping, for biometric, for a lot of stuff, to access that technology, they need internet connectivity. And right now in Liberia, the internet is very expensive. For first, the second problem we're having in Liberia in terms of connectivity is reliability. We do have a fiber optic line coming into the country. It's a single connectivity to Liberia for Liberia to the entire world. 100 gigabit line under the ocean that's coming in. All of our traffic is going through that line. But the problem is that throughout the country itself, there's no fiber network. So all of these telecom, Lone Star, Orange, they have these towers spread across the country that use microwave to connect them. The problem is that when it's raining, these microwave signals become impacted by the atmosphere, by rain or wind. So there you have an issue where if you have someone who's doing research through the library that Dr. Peter set up, it might be reliable accessing. First, they have to buy a scratch card on their phone or their laptop, or to use, for example, Orange Nice has a service where you can buy a modem for, I think it's $100, and you pay, I think it's roughly $50 or $75 a month to get internet access. So all of these are not affordable to people in rural areas. So whatever technology you're adapting for Liberia has to consider the factor of the cost to access that technology. The second, the reliability of the infrastructure in Liberia. And the third is just, the adaptation of it. Some of these folks are not accustomed to doing research online. So you got to ask yourself, who's your target audience? Some of these folks are not accustomed to buying products online. Cookshop.biz, we delivers food to people, mostly in the Monrovia area. Cook Food has
Mm.
just adjusted their platform to deliver groceries to people. But again, a lot of people have not a lot of people have the ability to go in online and order grocery because they have limited credit or data on their phone, or because the network they're using, or because they're in rural areas. So as you know, I commend all of your efforts, but make sure you consider those who are they're underserved, they're in rural areas, they're in villages, they have
Mm.
limited internet connectivity. They may not even have a cell phone. So you got to ask yourself, all these technologies, all of these tools that you're developing, who is it that you're targeting? Is it people just in Monrovia who have the resources and can afford it, or is it are you reaching out to the underserved in rural areas?
Thank you.
Well, we want to, we, please, this is very important to us. What I'm understanding, uh, Dr. Bernard, is that technology basically may be at Freeport, but we don't have no roads to pretty much get it out to the folks. So,
Yeah.
is this something that we should be pointing our hand to government regulators, or is this something that we can point our fingers to folks like you and say, hey, surely there's some money to be made here. Why can't the infrastructure and the capital investment be made on through something like this? And what's the monetization like? I mean, what does that look like? Is that just something that wishful thinking, or is something that really shouldn't even be thought of? I mean, any one line, or maybe you have a response, but before that, maybe we can give someone else a chance. Dr. P, do you have some thoughts on that before you created this library? Was it a hindrance for you, or you just moved forward?
No, there was no problem with me developing a library. One thing I thought of was it is true what the doctor just said, to really look at the users, that we are targeting. My users, are broad-based, people, like students, researchers, and universities. One thing I was looking at was, okay, I know students don't have, or most of them don't have internet, at home. But when you come to the universities, uh, you have internet, connectivities at those various universities. And those universities, they do have like labs, laboratories and all those things with computers. So on that note, I was like, okay, maybe if this happened this way, the universities will provide or make available their labs for students to access the materials from there. And also, when I also look at the teachers at those universities, they can also use those labs. When I look at the researchers, I was not just looking at researchers in Liberia. I was also looking at researchers like you, here in the United States, or even in Belgium or Netherlands, like that. So my idea was broad-based. And one thing I will notice that if we sit and say, okay, there is no internet connectivities in Liberia, so for this reason, we should not, we should wait for that to happen before we can initiate these things, then I don't think it will be a good idea. I think when we initiate these things, based on what the doctor said, we will now start to think further on how people are able to use these tools that already exist, instead of waiting for those connectivities to exist before we can establish those institutions.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again, folks in cyberspace. You are watching Focus on Liberia. This is FOF Marketplace, a business and economic forum, and we are discussing technology and business, and how can technology, looking at the business component of it, be used to solve more problems in Liberia. Let me come to you, Thomas. Your idea or your project on e-government system is Very, very important. Our government, we know, it's not effective. Most government are getting effective now because of the kind of system that have shared with us that you think can be taken to Liberia to make our institution there effective in terms of service delivery. All right, Dr. Bernard earlier was talking about connectivity, reliability, about connectivity, talking about internet. In the absence of internet, if you went to Liberia and build this system, will that efficiency you want to take there be achieved? And if not, why you think should be done in order to have this system there?
Thank you, sir.
Mhm,
I think that's we've been putting our pieces together since 2008. So
mhm,
it's about 12 years going on a very deep concentration,
mhm,
deep study case about Liberia. We
mhm,
also emphasize on a lot of the key point that the brothers did right there about the internet connectivities.
mhm,
But we had that looked up in 2012. We came up with a solution that before the system work, we need to have data and we need to have connectivities. Now, the first part of it, you have this, you have two sort of internet, which one, the one is called intranet, which
mhm,
is somehow restricted internet
mhm,
data.
mhm.
So that doesn't go to the World Wide Web. Then you have the internet, which is actually for the World Wide Web. Actually, for the first three part we want to emphasize is the hospital, university centers, and the securities platform. And you can also debug the system there as deploying the intranet system.
Okay.
So if you have data center connect together through intranet, you don't need internet to be able to sync data. You don't need internet to be able to carry data all over. It's almost like a local internet where you
Mhm.
have your line, but it's without the World Wide Web. We
Okay.
can use that a lot to carry data across the country.
Okay.
And if we need the internet, we can always use that same channel to be able to debug the internet connectivities. But one of the things I want to emphasize again, the brother stated over there that you have how people is going to get this services. Um, you have everybody in Liberia right now have iPhones or Android. You have people having phones everywhere. And we can also debug the intranet to the various locations that are crowded up. For example, on Broad Street, you can have a lot of hotspot over there carrying the intranet,
Mhm.
which the end user's telephone will be connected to those intranet, whichever distance they cover off. So you have an automatic sync of data. So we don't want to say that people should be monitor all the time,
Mhm.
but except you need the services for the government, for example, asking for your birth certificates, renewing your ID card, or going out to renew your passport, then you need to log onto the intranet system to get connected to the government platform to be able to renew that system.
Right.
So I think we thought of that. It's also it's a long road we took since 2008 to be able to come to this place that we are now.
Thank you. And let me come to you, Clarence. Your idea about an African supermarket that can be accessed predominantly online. It's interesting, especially in this age of technology. So, walk me through how do you find your vendors, or what standard or procedure have you put into place to ensure that, they get quality service through your platform or your business online? So those of you who are doing business online, are there regulations that apply to you too, like stores that are stationary?
Oh yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Hmm.
So how do we find our vendors? Like I said, we are a newly established platform.
Hmm.
We do our research to recruit vendors from most of the time on social platforms, right?
Hmm.
Social media platforms.
Right.
And when it comes to the safety of quality products that's been sold on the platform,
Hmm.
we have a strict policy that's put in place for our platform
Hmm.
when it comes to ensuring product authenticity and the quality. So for vendors who are not from the onboarding stage of vendor into the platform,
Right.
is made very clear. Those are some of some of the vendors and admin policies that they go through thoroughly,
Mhm.
that they read and understand the requirements of African supermarket and their product within our platform. So any vendor within, I don't care which part of the country you are, based on the violation. So some of the things we set in place that could lead to, we can cancel your listing, we can limit, suspend your business, we can block your ability to list product on the platform. The list goes on. Just to show that, because when we think about the stereotype that I have for Africans in business, uh, trust is key. We're going to look at business when Africans are doing business. Trust is very key. And some of the things that we see right now out there that make most of our people don't trust online platforms is having that trust to say, okay, I'm making a purchase towards a product. I'm
Mhm.
not getting the exact product I'm getting.
Right.
There are a couple of other brothers who are actually killing the game, but at the end of the day, not really striking on those points. At the end of the day, they are dragging their businesses down because of simple things like that. So how are we getting our vendors for a startup on African supermarket? We are actually going to, for example, like stores owners. So the guys who own African businesses, stores, and what have you in other parts of the cities,
Right.
we know they are legit. They have the product within, on hand. So we show up to these businesses and we talk to them and let them know that all of the people who buys from you guys are only people who know of you guys within the city that you guys are already established.
Mhm.
Think about how much revenue it's going to bring into your business if other people in California, in Georgia, in Texas, in Philadelphia, other parts of the world knew of your store and the product that you carry, and how much revenue that's going to bring into your business. And then also within the platform we have this competitive incentive that's being built within the platform, where vendors are also awarded, right, based on how fast the shipment is going out to to customers, how much return you're getting from your product, how customers are reviewing your platform. So we rate on based on your standard. We have a saver and a gold vendor. So you as a vendor, based on your performance on the platform, we will rate you according to that. So now you're gonna have to step up your game as a vendor to also know that, okay, if I'm seeing a gold member out there that have the same product you set it as a standard member
Mhm.
or standard vendor in the platform, I want to go for the gold vendor who already have all these reviews and everything for putting in the hard work for providing quality product, for shipping product out on time, and giving better customer service, a quality out there within the platform. So those are the things that we really strike on to let vendor know. And at the end of the day, the main and key focus behind this is that we want to enable Africans. So we give them every single tools necessary that we can give them to have them become successful on the marketplace. With that being said, even if we have to assign a marketplace specialist towards a vendor to walk them through the process, to guide them through the process of getting their product and other things that out there to the world. Even a service provider that's going to be on the platform. For example, let's say you're a graphic designer
Mhm.
and you post the services within African supermarket and people hire you for your services. You also gonna have to step your game out. If people you deliver a graphical project for a vendor or a user and it's not up to expectation, users have the ability to review you and not accept the project. And then we as African supermarket, we handle all of the financial aspect within the platform. So that way we can ensure trust. So if you're not sending quality product, if you're not sending product that's actually that match the description that you have on African supermarket, we will withhold your money and be able to reimburse
And
users. So go
and,
ahead.
and Clary, if I can jump in quickly, are you trying to be the Liberian Amazon?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm trying to be the Liberian Amazon, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
Amazon, yes, they do. They are a marketplace. They have the marketplace concept. But what we're trying to do is to promote African products and African entrepreneurs around the world,
They,
right?
they started
We
from somewhere though, Clarence.
Yes, it
Okay.
started for someone. Like I said, every business aspect, every business field you try to get into right now,
Hmm.
someone's probably doing something similar to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But what makes you stand out is your goal and your vision that's being driven behind what you're
Right.
trying to do.
Right.
For African supermarket, we want to enable our people. When you think about farmers in Liberia, the people who making pepper farms, the
Hmm.
people who have other farms, people who produce rare oil.
Right.
How are the people how can the world see their product compared to a farmer here in the US? A farmer here in the US can probably be a millionaire. Why can't that happen for farmers in Africa?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then if you think about other platforms that are creating over 750,000 jobs opportunity
Yeah.
from a single marketplace platform,
Right.
why can't we do that for the same for Africa in Liberia to be precise? There are a
Thank
lot
you.
of youth out there who are actually graduating high school.
Hmm.
The kids they have potential, but they graduate. There's really nothing to do.
Yeah.
If we can have a marketplace like this structure and set up in Africa
Right.
where we can provide 700,000 plus jobs opportunities for Liberians, I think that can shift the economy a huge percentage
Thank
on a
you.
level where, yeah, on that level.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Dr. Bernard. Earlier, um, Thomas talked about internet and intranet. Your emphasis here was on cost, was on reliability and affordability. So looking at the fact that the intranet he talked about may be a best option for Liberia now, since we don't have broadband and other sources of connectivity in Liberia that people can use to access the whole wide world. Is that something from your professional background you would recommend? And if so, are there minuses comparing that to internet where these institutions who might be using it might have access to the entire world?
Well, it's a complicated uh, solution.
Hmm.
Thomas, when he refers to intranet, I think he's referring to a community network.
Okay.
For example, the analogy I would use is if you're inside of a building
Hmm.
and you can access everything within that building, all the, say for example, all the rooms in that building, then that's your intranet.
Okay.
It's limited to the boundaries of that building.
Okay.
Whereas the internet is the boundaries are the entire world. So if you're providing a solution that's community based, and so only individuals within that community can access it, but still the constraints apply where if somebody has a cell phone, and they need data that's pretty expensive, and they also need internet connectivity that has some reliability issues, then it becomes a bottleneck for them to even access those solutions that are intranet based as well as internet based. So, for example, if you set up an intranet at, say, the market across from the barracks, what is the market name? The Joe, I think it's not Joe Ba, say whatever market. And in a typical market in Liberia, you have a lot of people selling their goods at stalls,
Mhm.
and might be selling fish, greens, and different spices and different vegetables. So if you want to set up something where everybody within that market can use your tool, say for example, if they need to check prices on products every day or all the time,
Hmm.
compare products to other vendors in that market or even other markets,
All right.
then you would have to create some sort of infrastructure within that market so that people can use their phone, through a Wi-Fi connection,
Right.
and they will access these resources. So that has a cost implication as well for whoever is setting up that solution. So my point is that whenever you're implementing these initiatives, the gentleman Clarence, he doesn't have that issue because his target is Africans that are living in the diaspora, and they have. If you're in a Western country, you're an African, and you likely have access to reliable internet, so you can go to this website and buy products and services. And I really like the idea because there are a lot of similar ideas out there. And you're absolutely right. Amazon does the exact same thing. They don't produce anything. What they do is they showcase producer products, and they just use their medium as a forum for customers to go to and buy products that are produced by others.
Right.
So that model will work in the Western countries where there's reliable internet, there's reliable intranet. But in somewhere like Liberia or even throughout Africa, to build that intranet, you have to first devote. There's a cost implication for the company to set up that
Have there
intranet.
been any studies? Have there been any studies? Dr. Bernard, Dr. Peter, or Thomas, anywhere have there been any? Maybe when I say steady, meaning have there been any cost that somebody can say, hey, for Liberia to have this internet, look, everything going, we need X. Whether it's 100 million, 200 million. I mean, has there anybody ever put a price tag on this that we Liberians can kind of shoot for?
Yes, there has, and that's a very good question, William. Let me explain to you how the infrastructure, the telecommunication infrastructure in Liberia currently works. Right, we got a fiber optic line coming from under the ocean, and Lone Star, Orange, and as well as the telco subscribe to that service, which is owned by a French company, and that allows us to have internet capacity throughout the country. But the thing is that all of these various companies like Orange and Lone Star, they have to take that internet capacity that allows us to connect internationally, but they have to create um, a local way of having their subscribers connect to that internet connection. And the way they do that is through these towers that you see all over the country.
Right.
And as I mentioned before, some of these towers are owned by one telecom provider, some of them are owned by the others. But the problem is that they're all communicating using a wire or wired or wireless infrastructure. So they've done the work of creating the infrastructure for Liberia as far as telecommunication, and their investment was likely in the somewhere between 10 and 20 million dollars. That was done decades ago, and there's a strong need to upgrade that infrastructure because we got some reliability issues. Just 2 days ago, phone calls to Liberia were dropping like crazy because the network wasn't working properly, and that network was local because they're transmitting data through the air, and if it's raining or there's one of the towers, if it's raining somewhere in Zwedru heavily or it's windy there, you can't call people in Zwedru. So that's the problem we're having now. Now, Thomas asked the question of what is the cost of making this better so that internet in Liberia is more reliable, is more affordable. And there are a couple of options on the table right now. For example, one option is a company in 2016. There was a company based in Europe, a consulting company that was hired by LTA to do a study on creating a backbone for Liberia. For those that don't know what a backbone is, in the U.S. here, there's a fiber optic network that runs underground or above ground, dark fiber, and that handles all of the traffic. Right now, as we're talking, our communication is going through a fiber optic cable that connects us through Europe. That connects, if you're in Europe, it connects us here via undersea cable. If you're in the U.S., it connects you to the West Coast from the East Coast via undersea cable. So the fiber cable is very reliable because it's under the ground, it's under the ocean. The wind can't interfere with it. The rain can't interfere with it. But building it is expensive. So one proposal in Liberia has been, based on the LTA study, is that it's going to cost about 66 or 65 million dollars to build a national backbone that's wired, that connects every single city. So you run a wire from Monrovia to Banga, you run a wire from Marura to Marshall, and to all of these major hubs throughout the country, and that creates a very reliable infrastructure in the country because it's not relying on towers anymore. You might have towers here and there for last mile, but you'll notice that even here in the U.S., we don't have a lot of towers popping all over the place, and the towers that we do have very strong signal. So that infrastructure, the price tag, to answer William's question, one price point says that it will cost about $65 million to build this infrastructure that links every city. And the benefit of that is that even if you're sitting in Sino, as long as you have a cell phone, you're going to have a reliable internet connection, as well as an internet connection. You're also the cost of internet connectivity is likely going to go down because it's available everywhere now. Because but the problem is that $65 million has to be subsidized by the government. The private sector can't do it because there's no cost benefit for them. It's a public good, just like water delivery, just like electricity. Those things are public good. So improving the internet in Liberia and making it more cost effective and accessible from
Dr.
everywhere. It has to be a public initiative. So that's one cost component. The other cost component
One
was that
second, Lionel. 1 second right there. Anthony, go
Yeah.
ahead. Wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
chime in?
yeah, Doctor. Then I wanted to come in. The study that you talk about that were able to disclose the cost around $65 million to build this. First, you talk about two kinds. One that can be built underground or under the sea. That's the most reliable one. Did that study give an estimated cost for that one also?
Yes, the study only looked at building wire from city to city.
Hmm.
So if you're in Grand Jita, it will build a wire from Nima all the way to Grand Jita with stops along the way.
Right.
And the cost was basic. It was the cost is basically the wire cost as well as the labor.
Okay.
But there was another study done that said that, okay, what you can do is define specific major cities throughout the country.
Hmm.
For example, Bomi is a Bomi. What's the city? Banga is a major city.
Hmm.
What is another major city? In Nimba, Ganta is
Yeah.
another major city. Lovonjama, a major city. So you create links to these major cities, and the minor cities, they're called last mile cities, will be connected by wireless connection.
Okay.
See, but it's closer, so that way, most of the traffic will be handled wirelessly up to a certain point,
All
and
right.
then for maybe within a 10 or 20-mile radius of the wire, the where the wire stops, the connection will be wireless, which is a lot more reliable. See, because from that 100-mile from here to Ganta, it's all underground, so the wind and the rain is not going to interfere with it. It's not going to interfere with it, so it's reliable. But from Ganta to some small village in Ganta, it
Hmm.
will be a wireless connection. So
Final,
those are
final question quickly, Dad. Sorry for interrupting. I just want to get this out. So, you were talking about government need to subsidize this kind of project, and looking at Liberia, very few people work. They make very little, and we're talking about a capital intensive project. Has there been is there a country that's like, okay, since we don't have a business environment where an investor might come and finance the kind of project, has there been a government that say, okay, we'll do it, and then we will own it, and then maybe businesses might come, and use the services and pay to us? I mean, has that been done anywhere else?
But dealing with the cost implications, first you got to look at alternative. Another alternative that was proposed
Okay.
said only you can do it in phases. Another alternative that was proposed
Mhm.
brought the cost down to about $10 million.
Okay.
All right, this exact same infrastructure,
Mhm.
but not as reliable as the $65 million.
Okay.
For example, if you need a car to go to work, you can buy a regular car, you can buy, an expensive car.
Mhm.
So
True.
that's $65 million. That's sort of the high end
Okay.
of the backbone infrastructure that was proposed. But there's another infrastructure that's sort of in the $10 to $20 million range that can be done in phases, right? So phase one will be linking, say, about 4 or 5 cities: Monrovia, Marshall, and maybe Caldwell somewhere. And then the next phase, another set of cities. So those are things that you can work with. As far as the cost, the government, you're right. The government right now, it's got its hands full with COVID-19. Their
Yeah.
healthcare system, needs improvement. There's a lot of problems in Liberia that serve as priority as opposed to developing an internet. But there's hope there's hope for that as well. In that, if some kind of initiative can be put in place, there are international donors as well as international philanthropic organizations that are willing to fund this. They'll say, okay, if you have a plan in place, something that's feasible, that's reasonable to build a national infrastructure in Liberia, we will give you the money. You
Wow.
see, as long as we make sure that the money is accounted for, nobody's going to be sticking their hands into it. And as long as the project looks like it's going to get done, you see,
All
there's
Right.
right.
got to be
Well,
accountability.
let
So there are
me
people
let me
willing to give us the money to do it, but it requires a level of commitment but it has to be done by the government because this
well, let
system
me just say
is
this.
owned by the private sector.
Mhm.
Folks, here we have it. We talk about something. Yes, we have that price tag, but I just want to say something
Mhm.
that even if you're looking at a $70 million price tag, that is about $17.50 for every citizen. Now, I want to talk about, I want to hear some thoughts from Dr. Peter or Thomas uh, about that in terms of what their thoughts are with hearing that. One coming from Netherlands, I'm sure where development is just amazing, and Dr. P, who's in the U.S., but he's in the I believe Washington D.C., right? So I want to hear your thoughts about that in terms of this cost that we look at as thinking that is so high in terms of cost benefits. Thomas?
And Thomas, before you come in, we have a
Yeah.
Facebook question here that is important that I want you guys to address because
Go ahead, Anthony. Go
it's in
ahead.
line with what William just asked. And the question is from Mosul. She writes, "Can Liberians in the diaspora fund finance this project? I think this is possible if the right people and processes are in place." And William just said, I mean, $17 you said per person.
Yeah, based on the population in Liberia.
Yeah.
Yes,
So he,
$17,
all
$17.50.
all right.
So who want to take a stab at that question? But I'll start with Thomas. Thomas, please.
Well, I'm not too good in the financing stuff, so I want to redirect the question back to Peter.
Okay.
P, let's go. Talk money.
Yes, I would say the same thing. I'm not good at financing, but this is what I would say.
Mhm,
When it comes to financing of these projects,
mhm,
the government, should be the one to really, take the initiatives.
mhm,
When it comes to the citizens, in Liberia and outside Liberia, you can have citizens' contribution towards the project. But I don't think it's something that we can say, okay, the citizens, since the government is not coming in, that the citizens, pay $17 each to bring us such project. I don't think it's feasible. I think the government should undertake that, and then the citizens can contribute. Some citizens.
Just one comment I want to make quickly is that citizens don't build roads, government do. Citizens don't build hospitals, government do. So a national infrastructure, as far as the road, was built by the government with taxes from citizens. A national internet infrastructure has to be built by the government because it's a public good. Everybody will be able to use it. And also, it's going to increase, in order to get this to encourage people to fund this thing, whether international donors or even everybody paying $20, sending $20 by MoneyGram to Liberia. In order to encourage people to do this, to commit financial resources to it, you got to convince them what the benefit is. And the benefit, part of it lies right here in this panel. If you have a national infrastructure, you will be able to have every student in the entire country, because they have access to the internet now, will be able to access this online library. You could implement something like a national ID system that's much more effective using biometrics. Not just ID. Somebody taking a picture of ID, so that if somebody goes for healthcare, they will be able to scan their QR code or put their fingerprint like they're doing in India, and you will automatically be able to pull up the data from the national ID database. So this infrastructure in other countries is allowed it has significant benefit in allowing entrepreneurs to build tools on top of that infrastructure, allowing international financing where you can send money to anybody anywhere, improving communications, creating jobs, improving e-health. We have a limited number of doctors in Liberia. Right now, e-health is blowing up in the US because everybody's sitting at home. You can't go to the hospital. So you got all these new companies popping up where you can go online, you can bring up the app and the doctor will see you virtually. So all those things are only possible. E-education. We have a limited number of teachers in Liberia. You can have a teacher sitting in Marura and teach a class all day long in Vonjama or somewhere even in a Hapa, virtually. But that's not possible now because we don't have the infrastructure to do that. So what I'm saying is that we got to put the chicken before the egg, and the egg is all of these things that we're doing here to to make the country better, but that's not possible.
Thank you, Dr.
We'll have a
Bernard.
limited impact.
Thank you, Dr. Bernard.
Anthony, do not let this guy off the hook too easy.
I will come back to
Because
him. I just wanted to go
okay,
to,
go
to,
ahead.
to Clarence. And gentlemen, this is what I want us to do, right? I like the way that Bernard lay all the benefits, of
Right.
having that kind of infrastructure in place. But he was more so of how it would benefit individual citizens and also institutions. But
Mhm.
as a government, as a government like ours that really needs the money, that needs investors, I want you guys to speak to that. How does the availability of this kind of infrastructure that we're talking about, invite businesses or investors to go into the country, and how will I help to even increase government revenue so that government can have the kind of money it needs, to invest further into the country, thereby making life better? Let's start with you, Clarence.
So pretty much, everyone on an individual base have their own point of how they
Mhm.
contribute towards
Bless
Liberia.
you. Mhm.
And over the course of years, I finally found my loophole in how I can contribute to the development of Liberia
Mhm.
based on when it comes to jobs opportunity,
Mhm.
technology wise, everything. It all boils down to the business structure I'm bringing into Liberia, right?
Mhm.
I was talking like Dr. Bernard said, how will people be able to access because people don't have much access to data and what have you out there in Liberia. With African supermarket, company African supermarket, with its vision that is bringing to Liberia,
Right.
we, people who can afford data services in Liberia they benefit from it on a huge scale. They have internet services like we do with the same connectivity we have over here in the US.
Mhm.
And if companies like African supermarket can move back to Liberia and be able to pay for those data services, the the next door neighbor don't have to actually have the fund to really pay for those data in order for them to be able to do what they have to do.
Right.
They can work. African supermarket can create that job opportunity, hire them. They can use the services we provide for them, and they can also be able to earn some kind of an income to be able to get themselves on a level where they can be able to provide for themselves and pay for their data and what have you too as well. So those that's my angle in the whole economic growth when it comes to Liberia and the side in which I'm really pushing to really help. So with African supermarket, you don't necessarily need to have data. If you don't have the data we provide, the services we provide, the workspace for you, come and work for African supermarket and earn whatever you can earn and be able to fit in that middle class or that one percentage in Liberia to
Mhm.
kind of benefit to
Thank
kind
you.
of benefit as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And you, Thomas, you are a technology guy. Technology is huge in
Yep.
development nowadays. So take it on. Let's see. How does it help the government in terms of attracting investors
So,
so that the government can get money? Yeah, Thomas, go ahead.
okay. First of all, I want to also emphasize on what the brother talked about.
Hmm.
What's the name again? The brother Rona.
No,
Yeah.
Bernard.
There's Clarence, there's Lionel
So he
Bernard,
mentions
and
about
Dr. B.
e-services, and this is what actually one of the things that we focusing on.
Hmm.
When you talk about e-services, hello,
Yeah,
can
we
you
hearing
guys
you.
hear
Go
me?
ahead.
Okay. When you talk about e-services, it's not just only the whole picture. So what we did, we dive into actually the whole structure and the components that are required to be able to deliver these e-services. That could even also attract business investors, people that are trying to do the insurance business on a very high level when it comes to Liberia. I think one of the things that we also focus on is to also bring those guys in place that specialize in insurance. What will happen? I think we need to break it. We need to go down a little bit slower. Uh, when you talk about e-services, imagine we have almost about 4.5 million people. None of these people have insurance. We don't have the basic necessity when it comes to healthcare.
Mhm.
So what the system actually happens is like even if the government have to fund this project or another entity fund this project, we can even tax people to pay let's say $5 Liberian, for example, and that $5 will give them the insurance that when they are sick they can at least go to the hospital to collect paracetamol or ibuprofen on a free basis level because they are paying the basic insurance, to the government. I think when it comes to also the services and what the government will get back from social systems is a lot huge. We can talk about it from now to tomorrow, but we can also break them down by bit by bit.
Thank you again, folks in cyberspace. You are watching Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C. hosting along with William King, and we are discussing technology and business. Folks,
Anthony,
yeah, go ahead.
Anthony,
Yeah,
you got any more comments from the
yeah,
Facebook folks?
yeah.
Because
Let me.
there's something I want to throw out there. While you do that, I want to throw out there to what Dr. Bernard mentioned.
Mhm,
To just a bit of clarity.
mhm.
When I spoke about it's $17.50 per citizen. The idea here wasn't for the MoneyGram. The idea here was kind of structuring some type of a bond or some type of access to the capital market. And I know that the folks on this panel, they know the methodology that is used to basically monetize the internet. And something that comes up when everyone is speaking was, drones, distance learning, call centers, IT, manufacturing, software, more people access to the global market. The question is, we got Lone Star and we got Orange. They're major telecommunication players globally on a global level. Look, this type of money that we are speaking about, I know maybe it may sound huge, astronomical, but when you look at it, folks, why is it that some of these major players that are benefiting in Liberia haven't looked to say, hey, you know what, we're going to take the lead on something like this? Why not?
And Tom, maybe they have not been approached yet. Maybe they have
Uh-huh.
not been approached yet. Government needs to take the lead, according to Dr. Bernard Sally. Yeah? I mean, this government that build roads, that build this kind of infrastructure, but the panelists should take it on. Let's start with you, Dr. Vlula, on this one.
Yes, I agree. You won't just have an individual taking on by himself to carry on projects like this.
Mhm.
You have to have the government, to come in to take the lead. We have several Liberian professionals, in the diaspora. Even the doctor here, he's one of those professionals. Even myself, the government is able to call some of these professionals, go back home, get like a task force, make recommendations to the government, and the government will be able to take on like the cell phone companies you are talking about, recommend to them or suggest to them. Earlier, I said the government has to take the initiative. Then maybe when you have individual citizens who are financially equipped, maybe they will want to come in and say, okay, this is what the government is trying to do. Okay, government, I have $5 that I can contribute towards this project and things like that. But it's just hard to just have individuals to undertake these kind of projects.
And
Thank you very much, Dr. P. And let me add something. Thomas, please, when you get a chance, look at the Rwanda healthcare system and the Senegalese healthcare system, and also Ivory Coast. They are actually using technology to offer insurance, and also, by the way, in those countries, the maternity wards and stuff like that, meaning when you are pregnant and giving birth, is actually free, and they actually have some state-of-the-art over there. So there's an example of that happening in places like Rwanda, Ivory Coast, next door to us. And so that's something that to Dr. P, to your point, we have some good hard examples there. But why is it for us? Why is it being so elusive for us in Liberia, for us to see this for what it is? I mean, they're just huge major benefits. We're not accessing our entire market. Dr. Bernard, have you had any conversations or anything, that is along this that are, do you know of any progress being made with this right now that says that we want to launch this initiative per se? Or is this something that has been put on the back burner? And I'm talking about pre COVID-19, but has there ever been discussion, or has things just kind of left as is at this $75 for unlimited internet, while over here in the US we paid $35?
Well, I assume that question is directed at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
But right now, the internet market in Liberia is controlled by obviously these two dominant companies, Orange and Lone Star. And there were several more companies in Liberia. There was Cellcom, there was Libercell, Comium.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of consolidation over the past few years, and that has reduced competition somewhat. So essentially, they own the infrastructure. They compete, and things have gotten a little better because a few years ago, internet in Liberia was over $100,
Yeah.
$150. It requires satellite that you purchase. The onboarding costs included buying a satellite, buying the equipment, which could run close to $500, and then paying the monthly, and also it depended on where you were because it was only a point to point. So Orange has made some progress in reducing their cost by introducing much more democratic way of accessing internet, besides using your cell phone. So, for example, a data plan right now, most people get megabits or gigabits. If you want to compare that to other countries in the U.S., so in Liberia, a gigabit costs about roughly $5. You buy a scratch card for $5. A gigabit,
Right.
you put the number in your phone. It allows you to have a gigabit of connection. So use that, compare that to say Verizon here in the US where a gigabit is about $10. And it's part of your monthly package. Whereas in Liberia, it's pay as you go. But the problem is that in Liberia, the cost of living is very low, but the average person doesn't make a lot of money. So $5 is a lot of money for a
Right.
gigabit. You see, so that's sort of one of the problems we have. To go back to William's question regarding this project in terms of building this national backbone, the study was done in 2016. There was another study done last year by a company called C Square, and they're trying to build a backbone, sort of a watered down version of a backbone from the Sierra Leonean border to the Ivorian border, and they're trying to connect Liberia to those two countries by direct fiber connection. As far as where the project stands now, it's still on paper. The government, as I said, has other priorities. They've got a lot of things. The budget is not. The economy is going down. They're trying to build a road infrastructure, which is a far more bigger priority. But what this project really needs is some sort of a champion to take it on and say, look, this thing is very important. Let's put together a plan, like Dr. Peter said, put together a task force to explore cost-effective ways of building this national backbone, and look at the benefits of it in terms of creating jobs, improving healthcare, improving our education, like it's done elsewhere. And once you get that, the thing about it is these international funding companies, even these philanthropic companies, for example, Google will fund this. No problem. I mean, Google is a multi-billion-dollar company, but a lot of these international companies and international investors, they want to see a concrete plan on paper. All right, they don't want talk. They don't want you to say, "Oh, I need $20 million to do this." No, they want to see it on paper. They want to see the technical workout, the technical implication of it, the social benefit. They want to see everything written on paper, and they will scrutinize it. Exactly. If it meets the muster, they will fund it because they want it. In years, why they will fund it? These international companies. A lot of people don't know it, but data is gold. And what they're trying to, the African market is closed up right now because of internet connectivity, right? They cannot reach African customers. They want to expand beyond the Western world. They want to have everybody in Africa using LinkedIn, everybody using Fiverr, everybody using Facebook seamlessly because they're collecting your data. And that's how these companies make money. And they're also using that data to run algorithms that will sell you different products. Amazon wants to deliver to Africa, but we don't have a postal infrastructure that's efficient enough. All of these technology companies want to set up shop, but again, they need that underlying infrastructure to be there so that they can build on top of it, and that's missing. So they will gladly give you the money to build it because they're going to benefit on the tail end as far as having more people using the platform now that they're on the internet. More people are going to be buying stuff. More people are going to be using financial services. More people are going to be giving up their data in exchange for free things like on Facebook, like Twitter or LinkedIn. Most people are going to be using all of those tools. So they want to expand their market. So they will, if they see this plan on paper and it's concrete, they will give you the money and build it. We're going to benefit in the long run because we're going to use that to tap into your market.
And
So my
gentlemen,
point. So anyway.
yeah, sorry that to interrupt. Gentlemen, talking about a plan, that Bernard just laid out there. If these people see a concrete plan that is realistic, that has all the details in it, and maybe if it is presented by serious-minded people who can convince them of the benefit, they will fund it. Because at the end of the day, the market it will create is go for them and they will make the money. So my question to all of us here is, can we be the team that write that plan and try to get it to this complaint to be able to fund it? And it said, can we go forward about that and say, hey, we wrote this plan and then we want funding for it. This is how it's going to benefit our people, and this is how you to benefit in the long run. And can we also share that with our government? How do we do? How do we go about it? I want us to be involved and start being part of the solution here.
This guy is good. Yeah, I think that's a great initiative. I think if we take that stand, it's just meeting everybody on here right now, everybody mindset where they are and
Mhm.
their vision for Liberia. I think it only makes sense if we can collaborate and really put these ideas together and present it to the rightful people in order for us to see the changes that we want to see in Liberia. Because the thing was when Williams asked the question about why the top guys who already in Africa, why they're not taking the stand. Well, some of the thing I'll tell you, they're already making their money. They're comfortable where they're at right now. They don't have to go above and do the extra. So we as a citizen of Liberia now, we have to take that stand and say, okay, you know what? This is what we can do. We can come together collectively as a team and be able to execute these plans to make sure we bring these changes into Liberia. For example, what Dr. Bernard said, the country have its hands full right now with a whole lot of other things that's going on right now in the healthcare factor and coronavirus and everything. I think it's something where we as Liberians outside of Liberia, this is something where we can definitely put our hands around and definitely make it happen based on our network that each and every one of us has so far. And based on the connection, we can definitely bring that change that we want to see in Liberia, like the brother said. So definitely, I'm in 100%. African supermarkets in.
Focus on
I mean,
Liberia's in. Who's in?
This
as well. But
one quick.
here is the thing.
Hmm.
In order to have a concrete plan, a national survey first needs to be assets. We talk about the hospital, we talk about schools. I think all of these have to be included in our plan. That will also boost the implementation plans or the graphic plans. What I've done actually, because I'm an engineer, so one of the things I look at to found a project, you don't where you need government to step in, but some of the initiative supposed to be taken by the citizen itself. So as a developer and as a network engineer and a system engineer, I also have a great experience when it comes to artificial intelligence. All of these algorithms used on Google and Amazon to track business and customers.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
what I did, I started going ahead in 2012 and started building up the system. So in order for that to bring revenue to finance the business as well, we decided to also focus on the health sector, providing the one of the portion of our business to the health sector. What that means is that when you provide these services and then ask the hospitals, if you have a data sync around all of the hospitals, that all citizen data is in that hospitals, I think it could boost the hospital morale, and also when the hospital is paying at least a couple of dimes toward the project or toward the system, I think that could help also to finance the bigger one ahead. I think so. What we need to do also is to start by first what we need to do to have to take out the initiative to be able to present plans. What have we done? How can we implement the little one we have, and then show up to big companies like Google or Amazon's. And I think these are the things that I can be able to provide to be able to showcase, and also for be implementing some e-learning systems in
Right.
various schools,
Mm-hmm.
and also to go forward with that. I am in.
Thank you. Dr. Vlula, Dr. V.
Yes. I like the idea, of collaboration on this actual project, but it needs more details. It needs more exploration, because when you look at Liberia, whenever you want to implement or initiate a technology in a society, firstly you need to look at the acceptance of that technology, in that society. So. You don't just want to put your hand to something or tell people, write proposal for people to do something for you. When you see that the people are not, it won't be accepted, firstly. So that's where I come, with the idea of exploration, more exploration into this idea, to see if we can actually go ahead to do it. But it's a good idea to do or to think about, really.
Thank you. Dr. Bernard.
Well, a couple of points I want to make here. First is that I don't think any one of us we're kind of missing the point here. For example, when Google was trying to get certain things done to benefit them, what they use is a tool called advocacy. All right. So, for example, if they want to build they have access to healthcare data, which is they're trying to do right now, is access everybody's healthcare data in the U.S. They know that it requires certain laws to be put in place to do it. So they're not going to do it themselves. They're not going to pass. They can't pass the law themselves, but they can advocate for this law to be passed so they can leverage it. So my point is that as entrepreneurs on this panel, you're building an e-library, you're building an online marketplace, you're building a data mining solution or a national ID solution, but you're not able to build a national infrastructure that all of your tools depend on to function properly. All right. The only way you can do, here's the thing. If a car, what we're building is our cars. All right. None of us can build a road. All right. None of us can, have ownership of the equipment or the tar or the concrete or all of the resources and competency needed to build a road. But all of us benefits from this road being built, in that we can build a car that can run on this road. We can build a transportation, a fleet of a transportation system. We can build an app that allows people to charter a car right from their phone. We can build all kinds of cars that use this road. So I use that analogy to point to compare that to a national infrastructure system. We cannot build the road ourselves, the infrastructure ourselves. The only thing that we can do is advocate that it be built. All right, and part of it is through this forum. I'm sure a lot of government officials are watching this thing right now and saying, "Hey, what are these guys talking about? And how is it going to benefit them?" And the way it's going to benefit us is that whatever tools that we build, it's going to have to run on top of this road, this infrastructure, so it allows us to reach clients in the far fetches of the country, as well as in other countries reliably, which we don't have that ability to do now. So, and the other point I want to make is that someone on the chat room mentioned that, why does the government have to own this national infrastructure? And the answer is very simple. If Lone Star owns it, what are they going to do? They're going to charge a premium for you to use it, right? If you're building your e-library and you want to reach people in far fetches of Liberia, Lone Star has to have their recover some of their costs of building this infrastructure, and they're going to charge their customers a premium to offset the cost of building this. The same thing with Orange. So you cannot have this privately owned. Whereas the government is not in the business of making money, right? If they build this, when government builds roads, their intention is not to build money. All they want to do is break even. All right, do they collect enough taxes to build it? So if the government builds this infrastructure, which is the only one that's capable of doing it, they're not going to charge you a premium for building your systems that sit on top of this infrastructure. So that's why it's important that government builds this thing, if through a private sector donation, through public sector donations from international donors, through a variety of funding sources, and they're able to do that. But once they build it, it will be a resource for all of us technology folks to build systems on top of to improve the lives of Liberians. So that's why only the government can do this, because it's a public good, just like the roads and the hospital. So one person cannot build it because they're going to charge, they're going to leverage this to the full advantage, and you have a monopoly in that situation. So
All
those
right.
are the two things I want to make.
All right, gentlemen, let me read some comments from our Facebook viewers here. And then after reading the comments, my partner here can talk about the dark side of technology, and that we'll talk about, and then we will wrap it up. So let me read a few comments quickly. Following from Liberia, that's Melvin Harris, right? So, gentlemen, people are following us here from the homeland. Mike Freeman, right? I am a innovative car technology expert. Maybe after this virus, I will be making a car for our farmers and military. That is good. Brian Wright, that's what the theme about, sir. The doctor is right, somebody writes.
Of
Patient,
technology.
impressive ideas. Let's see what Kosia, right? Jens, I know you guys have brilliant ideas. I know Liberia is not yet ready to embrace technology. It can work only if you guys will go as a individual institution, never depend on the government. Mostly say yeah, great ideas. Ambassador S. Jimmy, right? Moreover, we lack interest in technology. The good example would be the show on now. Only a few people are watching because it's not politics. That is so true. Wayne Bryan, right? CA, the host, I am proud of you today for suggesting of forming a team on this topic. Well, I'm being a little ambitious there. The technology guy, Joy have asked me, you got to do a lot of research. Musu Rice, credibility a key when seeking financing. And then Marian, I said the last name, Gia Wright, can't compare those countries to Liberia. They love their countries, but our so-called leaders do not care because they only care about themselves. That was when William was talking about Ivory Coast and other countries that are, leveraging in technology when it comes to their healthcare system. All right, let me read this one from Mark Freeman. For my understanding, if anyone willing to come in with an internet marketing e-service, they must bring a free Wi-Fi system. All right. So, folks, just few comments right there. Let me read this one. I think the government needs to set a priority right. I think the government just need to set a priority right. The person just repeated. Gentlemen, you just listening to a few comments there. The people say not a thousand person watching because we're not talking politics, but the politics only divide us. The idea we're discussing here is what will bring the solution we need to make life better. But William, I turn it over to you. Let's start with the issue of the bad side of technology. We're talking about billing and infrastructure. If a private company bill it, will it not compromise national security? And then another thing I want you guys to talk about is many of all using apps nowadays. How is our apps? How are apps better? Compared to the regular website and all of that. So I want you guys to touch on that, and then we will close it.
Thank you very much,
Mhm.
Thomas. I think about a week or 2 weeks ago, I was listening to the show, and I think you called in when Dr. Peter was speaking about technology.
Mhm.
You mentioned about artificial intelligence. You mentioned about ways to count election and different things like that. So right now, we've on the news media, we heard about the interference of other countries into other countries, political election and stuff like that, trying to influence certain outcomes. So please tell us a little bit about this dark side, and then after that, I'll come to Dr. P, and I want you to speak about, what if or what could happen if your library got hacked. So go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, sir. When we talk about the dark side of technology, I want to go back to the fact that we have two sort of hacker. We have a hacker which is called the white hat hackers and the black hat hackers, and you have also an internal hacker. So which means that a person who have been handled the authority to be able to access data, and then literally that data has been handled onto the hands of a black hat hacker. So there are many kind of intrusion of data. But what actually happened is that technology is something that people use for the goods and services, but also people use technology to be able to do the bad thing of it. I will not be able to emphasize a lot of the bad thing, but I will emphasize on one. We talk about data, companies selling data. There's a huge market in the technology world where a company can be able to steal your data and sell it to another company for users and purposes. For example, you have the credit card, the credit card guys who get online, steals data, and then matches the data, and then when the data matches the credit card number, and then they sell these data out. There's a whole lot of dark web out there that's selling, stolen credit cards, and to people. So these are also the things that we need to focus on when it comes to the dark side of technology. But what our system has been more focusing on is how can we make our system better. So to be able to limit all of these questions, we dive into quantum physics. Quantum physics is also uses a quantum computer, and quantum computer, one of the algorithms in quantum computer is to be able to implement the quantum mechanic and the quantum mathematics. One of the things that are very hard for hackers, they are not good in mathematics. So in order for you to break down data, you first have to break down the law of physics before you can get to the data. And that is the essential for our systems. It's only our system will be handled to somebody who has authority and then wants to sell the data. Like, for example, the uses of power, elections, and all of these things in Liberia. But I think if the purpose of the system are directed to the people for the good and services for our citizens, I think we can be able to face a lot of we can be able to eliminate a lot of these things that will happen in the future. But to answer your question, we have a lot of algorithm when it comes to quantum physics, quantum computers, and that will actually back up our data encryptions when it comes to protecting our citizen data.
Thank you very much. Dr. P, what will happen if your beautiful idea for this library, all of a sudden people are using it and in Liberia all over, and one day you wake up and you look at this thing and you realize that some knucklehead out there has decided that they're going to monkey around in your system?
Yes. Firstly, security is the key to any initiation or implementation of technology. So when it comes to the Liberia e-library, we consider the security aspect of it in detail before we could even go about, establishing it. The level and strategies in security that we apply to the Liberia e-library, I'm not able to discuss them here right now, but what I will say is that for Liberia, as an example, whenever we think about, taking technology to Liberia, we firstly need to think about the security. So if we take technology to Liberia, we need specialists to really maintain these systems. And in maintaining these systems, those specialists will look at them every day, and not just the specialists. Those specialists will kind of train the users, because the users are the first people when it comes to the security of any technology. So security is the key. So before you implement any technology, you have to consider security. That's what I was saying, Shah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. V. And I come to you, Dr. Benan. Quickly, on the bad side of technology, what do you have to share and what question do you have for us?
All right, apologies, I was muting myself.
Hmm.
Well, when we started this panel conversation, I mentioned that back in the days, the cavemen they built tools to allow them to hunt better to
Hmm.
solve a problem. To use Thomas's comment, um, but they also use the tools that they created to kill each other for territory or for resources. So my point is that every tool can be used for good as well as for bad, and that same concept applies to technology. Right now, everybody, Dr. Peter on this panel has created an e-library that's being used for good. Clarence is using technology to enable people to purchase products more conveniently. Thomas is using technology to improve the lives of people. So, but all that technology can be used for nefarious means. Thomas brought up an example of hackers on the dark web stealing people data. There's a lot of scenarios where technology can be used for bad purposes. The same thing, and one example is how governments are using technology to spy on citizens. In some African country, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a partnership with the Chinese to install cameras all over the major city in that country, and the purpose of that was to do facial recognition on certain people or to spy on the opposition. So that's an example where technology is being used to curtail free speech or to curtail free movement of people. There's examples where technology is being used for example, in China right now, they're using a lot of biometric information to control the people that are using COVID, but they're also using it to track criminals as well as to track people who are creating dissent. There's a lot of censorship online right now, in some other countries because they don't want people to say certain things that could negatively impact the powers that be. So again, every a lot there's a lot there's a huge set of organized crime as well as government actors out there who their intention is to compromise utility systems of other countries using malware or hacking to their national database system to obtain confidential information. So all that is using technology as a tool to achieve that those are malicious intentions. So that's the dark. That's an illustration of the dark side of technology is that it can be used for good to give people tools that they can use to shop, to exchange, to communicate like we're doing now, to exchange information, to do a lot of convenient things. But it can also be used to 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 curb free speech. It can be used to curb free movement. It can be used to steal information. It can be used to also to uh, to hijack people and so that they have to pay a ransom. For example, there's this trend where called ransomware, where people are putting these actors are placing malware onto computers for these organizations, and they're hijacking their systems. And the only way they can let go of those hijackers is they pay a large sum of money. So that's another example of the dark side of technology. It can be used to achieve some pretty damaging things.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Gentlemen, we almost gone 2 hours. We got to shut it down. Let me get a very
Just one.
brief comment from Clarence first. Clarence, the dark side of technology, and then we can close. You are on mute, Clarence.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So
Mm,
I agree wholly with Dr. Bernard and
mm,
Thomas. When it comes to technology and the dark side of technology, it can be very scary. And whether you know it or not, the time and age that we live in right now, we're actually living going through a technology war, right? I call it a technology war or technology battle.
mm.
I would say there's a lot of things that's going on right now. When you look at the past cases in the past couple of years and how many health facilities, how many top businesses that that's out there right now that have been hacked by these guys. and you will be shocked. You think that, okay, because the big players, they have the big name, they have the capability, and they have all the experts behind their team, and they won't get hacked. And before you know it, it just that loophole that you give within your system, or you just or information that you give out there that can really put you in a dangerous spot. For example, when it comes to some of the hackings that a hacker don't even have to sit on a computer to access your information. They can get right on a phone conversation with you and gather all your information and use it. Call you. Most of some of you guys have pretty much encountered some of those sequence where they will call you on the phone. Hey, pretend to be the IRS, or we want your social security number. Can you offer that, or can
Exactly.
you give us that? And they take your information. They don't even have to put in the effort to get on a computer to crack anything, and they will have access to your data. Sometimes it even happens for even employees that we hire in our companies. Just clicking on phishing emails that pop up on their desktop. It's like, oh, click on this, and to even they even use office applications to even get you. For example, like OneDrive. There are a
Yep.
lot of phishing emails that came through from OneDrive where they will send out to employees and tell them, oh, just click to update your OneDrive, or click to view company or zip file. And once you click on those information, you put in your email login. You can also give your company out hugely. And those things that they're really bad, because if these hackers, if they have this information, they could shut your operation down. They could send a wrong character of your business out there, and which can be very bad, especially for those who are working in the healthcare factor. They're taking security very, 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 very seriously, because once these people have access to medical records, it can be a dangerous thing. And that's one of the things where we come to, we as IT professionals, how can we come up with ideas and other things? How can we come up with ways and structure that we can bring these things back to our country? Now in the Western world, everybody's caught up to this. Everybody knows what hacking is, what the different forms of hacking. But like bringing it back to our country, like Liberia, how can we train the youth into cybersecurity? How can we create jobs opportunity with companies that come in Liberia for people to get more into the technical side of things, to be caught up to the Western world? So yeah, to just conclude my statement, the dark side of internet or the web can be very dangerous. But if you try your best and stay on top of things. Like the top companies, the different security measures that they take in monitoring that system day to day, kind of put them one step, further before these guys. But you can be too careful. I don't care how secure you think your system is. It's just that one simple loophole that they can access your data and do whatever they want to do with it, and send your business all the way back. That's my info so far.
All right. Thank you. And William, we got to wrap it up there.
Yes.
Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining Focus on Liberia. We've had, as you see, we brought some phenomenal guests. Our goal, our purpose is to educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We encourage our panelists to please exchange information and speak about different things. Once again, the focus and the vision is being achieved daily for Focus on Liberia, bringing like-minded Liberians together. We also encourage you to please read the comments on Focus on Liberia. Many folks commented. We're not able to address all of them, but please go and take a look at them. Something to keep in mind when you look at these comments, you will see that they are very positive, and there's actually some desires that's really big. In closing, what I lastly is that to Thomas, to your point, please, I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Bernard. There have been a lot of survey analysis and reporting done by the World Bank, African Development Bank, USAID, United Nations Healthcare United Nations Healthcare Organization. All of these entities have paid professionals to do a lot of these data, but we haven't moved to the last step. And
Okay.
lastly, last point is that capital markets can make a lot of these financing possible. So thank you, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, William King. Again, folks in cyberspace, we want to say thank you for following our broadcast here. We want to say a very, very big thank you to our panelists here, and they are patient to have stayed with us for an hour and 51 minutes now to discuss this very, very important topic, technology and business. Technology, I say, rules the world now. Even the politicians are looking up to the technology guys, to make life better for our people. Dr. Bernard, we will always reach out to you. Dr. P, we will always reach out to you. Thomas will always reach out to you. Clarence, thank you for the phenomenal job you are doing with the African market there, which is an online platform. Thomas creating e-government system and other things that you're doing. Dr. Vlula, we can't thank you enough for the library that you have built, the e-library, Liberia.org. Or folks who are watching us, you can go online, e-library, lib.org, and you will get a lot of information about Liberia. That particular website is for students, researchers, and teachers to use, and even people who just want to know about Liberia. Dr. Bernard is doing a phenomenal job in the Washington area. I understand. I mean, he's a very knowledgeable man. We will continue to reach out to him to tap into his expertise to see how we can provide the necessary information for our people, because that is why we do here our focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. We are the only Liberian platform that try to talk about everything. The rest of the people talk politics. This is why we are the one that are informing the Liberian people, bringing the Liberian people together, things that will make their life better. On that note, gentlemen, because of time, I'm not taking closing comment. And thank you, and that will do it for us. And to those in cyberspace, we are also saying to you, stay safe out there. Coronavirus is real. Be safe, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.